Welcome back, everybody, to more from the SAbleyes. I'm here today with Jordan. How's it going, Jordan?
Not too bad.
That's good. And we are reviewing my pet project. That is Arcanine. Believe it or not, Jordan, I didn't actually have a list built until this afternoon when you helped me to build it. I mean, I guess you would believe it, wouldn't you? You were there.
I couldn't believe it at the time. I was shocked when you said you hadn't been playing Arcanine like every day for the last few weeks, and we had to build one today, and we built a list like quite a bit actually. I think it's quite different than some of the other Arcanine lists we've been seeing, even though we've been seeing very few.
Yeah, so Arcanine is kind of one of those decks that people have talked about a little bit, but no one's really built yet. And the lists that I've seen floating around are all related to Green Search. So the one that we played in our proxy boxing was Green Search. All the Japanese lists that did well were Green Search. And some of the other lists that other YouTube channels have used have also been Green Search. But we've elected to mix it up a little bit with Jirachi. We have 3 copies of Jirachi with our Arcanine list. And we're using that instead of greens in order to give ourselves an out to some of the other cards that we think might be useful to take big knockouts. Things like Professor Kukui, which we'll talk about later.
Jirachi's just a really good card in a lot of decks if you hadn't noticed already. It's pretty popular at the moment, and I feel like just the Jirachi engine just seems to make this deck feel more smooth. I mean, I haven't really played the greens version, so I don't know what it's comparing to, but just testing the list quite a bit today, I was really liking how the Jirachi engine was flowing pretty nicely and working quite well with Arcanine.
Yeah, it's one of those cards where you think about it, we kind of replace 4 Green Search and 4 Poker Gear with 3 Jirachi and 2 Rescues, 2 of the Escape Boards, and we kind of open up a few extra slots in our list, which is quite cool. We get to do some other stuff that other lists weren't able to do. So 3 Jirachi, we obviously have a 4-4 line of Arcanine. Arcanine is a really cool attacker in that it does great numbers against pretty much anything in the format. Grand Flame does 120 and accelerates energy from the discard to one of your bench Pokemon, so that's going to knock out most, if not all, basic non-GX Pokemon. And Heat Tackle does 190, you cop the 50 damage, when you could potentially be doing 220 with a Choice Band, or even 240 with a Professor Kukui. That's pretty good numbers.
And it's got that awkward HP number that a lot of non-GXs really struggle to hit 140. 120, 130 is kind of medium, but 140 is just that little bit above the rest, and it's got enough damage output to take out most GXs. So the only thing that you would think this maybe doesn't trade well with is tag teams, but if tag teams, even if they can one-hit Arcanine and you're 2-hitting them back, that's still a good trade for Arcanine.
Yeah, and the good thing as well is that Arcanine, once you get multiple into play, becomes self-sufficient. You just Grand Flame energy onto more Arcanine, and there's nothing that your opponent can really do to stop you. So if you can get yourself set up, it's got quite a lot of potential. We also run 1 copy of the Dragon Turtonator with Explosive Jet, 50 times the amount of fire energy that you discard from your Pokemon in play. We're only playing 1 copy of this card because it's a finisher, so we want to be attacking with Arcanine for pretty much every turn of the game, and then use Turtonator as our final knockout if we have to. It's more in for insurance rather than anything else. We actually talked about cutting it for a 4th Jirachi, Jordan.
Yeah, I think that the Turtonator, it's probably better than the 4th Jirachi just because it does give you that extra option you don't usually have. There's no other way to deal like 300 plus damage except for running this Turtonator, and you can use it potentially more than once with Rescue Stretcher and stuff to get that back if you need to, but for the most part you only need the 1, and it does quite a lot of it has a lot of uses just for the 1 slot, I would say.
Yeah, so pretty good card to insert, and you can kind of just throw this down. Since you've got Jirachi to retreat from, you can throw it down in the end game, and Welder attach an Explosive Jet for a big knockout out of nowhere. So pretty good card. That is all of the Pokemon that we are running. Surprisingly, it's actually 2 more than most of the Arcanine lists that I've seen I've been running. Other lists just play 2 Turtonator and leave it at that. So Jirachi gives us a little bit of an extra Pokemon count in there, but nothing too crazy. When we look down at the supporters, it's a relatively simple line. Instead of playing green, we choose to play 3 copies of Lily. Lily is our best draw card in the first turn of the game, and since we don't want to risk playing green with Jirachi, we're happy to play 3 copies of Lily. We're also playing a Cynthia, because Shuffle Draw is always good. This could potentially be a 4th Lily, but I think at the moment Cynthia seems pretty good. And our other draw supporter is obviously 4 copies of Welder. Welder is critical in the early game to get yourself set up. And in the late game, you can just kind of use it to supplement your draw if you need to.
What I really like about Welder in this deck is, unlike other fire decks such as Reshizard, where you really do need to be chaining Welder a couple times a game if you want to keep your attackers chaining. With this list, though, you only really need to Welder once, and then once you've done that, you can usually power up the rest of your attackers using Arcanine instead of Welder, and Welder just acts as that little bit of extra draw, and of course setting up multiple threats on your board. So if you're not overly reliant on Welder, but still playing 4 to just set up and get it when you need it, you're obviously going to be wanting to use Lily turn 1, because it's not a deck that attacks turn 1, it's more of an attack turn 2 deck. So ideally your Lily turn 1, Welder turn 2, and after that you can do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, so Welder, 1 copy for the early game, and then the other 3 for insurance later. We also play 2 copies of Guzma. We want to be able to target down threats when we get the chance, so Guzma lets us do that. It's a bit of a thin line, so we need to make sure we don't discard them too frequently, because if we lose them, they're gone forever. But we've got some other switch options as well. And we also play 1 copy of Professor Kukui. This is something that the Greens list kind of struggles to find turns to play, because you want to play Greens or a Welder to get your Arcanines going. With our list, since we've got Jirachi, we've kind of got the turn to play the Kukui if we need to. Means that things like Zoroark can get knocked out with an Arcanine with a Wishful Baton on it. Means that we can knock out big threats like Pikarom, or we can just put on a little bit more pressure with our Grand Flame.
It certainly gives you a lot of option. Obviously, it allows your Turtonator to deal a little more damage as well. Sometimes you'll only have 4 energy in play, and you can just do 200 damage or 220 with Professor Kukui, which is pretty useful. It's a pretty good support line overall. The one thing that I would consider changing is, as you said, dropping the Spear for either a Lily or an extra Guzma is certainly an option, but I do like the Cynthia in there as well.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty solid line for the moment, especially since we run a lot of kind of other interesting cards, and we're drawing with Jirachi effectively anyway. We'll look at the rest of the lineup of items now. We've got 3 copies of Ultra Ball and 4 copies of Nest Ball. It's a pretty common Pokemon search line at the moment. Nest Ball obviously critically important, searches out your basics, and 3 Ultra Ball to search out your Arcanine when you need it. There are no other Pokemon that we really need to search with Ultra Ball, so Nest Ball usually gets the job done.
It's almost weird to see that we've got almost as many Ball Search cards as we have actual Pokemon, because it's a fairly linear Pokemon line, and Jirachi is able to find those Ball Search cards when we need them, so it should be fairly easy to chain attackers.
Yeah, and we also have 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. Since we've, like you said, Jordan, got a linear Pokemon line, if something goes wrong, we need to make sure that we can get them back. So we'll be shuffling Pokemon in with Rescue Stretcher, or using it to grab ourselves an Arcanine or a Growlithe that was knocked out early, and we'll put that back into play as quick as we can. The rest of the list is built around making sure that we've got energy in play. So we use Jirachi and 2 copies of Escape Board to search out lots of these items. We also have a copy of Switch and a copy of Escape Rope to help get our Jirachi into the active or out of the active. Remembering, of course, that Arcanine is actually a really, really fat Pokemon. He's got 4 Retreat, Jordan.
Yeah, not only Arcanine, but Turtonator also has a 3 cost, and Growlithe has 2, so none of those Pokemon are getting much use out of Escape Board, so you're going to need Escape Rope and Switch if you need to move them around for the most part. I don't think you'll need to switch them too often, because ideally if they're in the active, they're attacking, but if they get stalled active, or if you just need an extra Stellar Wish, then those Switch cards are going to be super useful.
Yeah, we could consider playing 2 Switch or instead of the Escape Rope, but we've chosen to go for the 1-1 split just because it gives us a little bit more utility. We also play 3 copies of Fiery Flint, enabling us to search out fire energy in the early game. The worst thing that can possibly happen when you've got a Welder in your hand is that you don't have enough energy to make it viable, so Fiery Flint helps us get that, means that Jirachi can search it out as well. And we also have 2 copies of Fire Crystal to get energy back from the discard. Obviously, this card is not as important in this list as it is in other fire lists, because hopefully Grand Flame is putting the energy back for us.
For most of the game, you would think that you're going to be using the same 6 or 7 energy over and over again, just recycling them with Arcanine, and always having 2 Arcanine power. The Fire Crystal is mainly just there for if you do accidentally end up burning too many, or just for utility with cards like Welder and Heat Factory, just an extra way to get Fire Energy into your hand.
Yeah, speaking of Heat Factory, we do play Heat Factory to draw extra cards. We're not super worried about discarding Fire Energy, so it seems like a fairly good trade. If you ask me if I would like to attach extra energy every time I drew 3 cards, that would be perfectly fine by me. And our other stadium is 2 copies of Shrine of Punishment. We are not playing GXs, so this is probably our most valuable stadium to include.
I mean, when you're looking at non-GX decks, the 2 stadiums that come to mind are either Shrine of Punishment or Power Plant, and Shrine of Punishment seems like the better play for Arcanine, which can often be just a couple damage counters off of getting knockouts, whether it's on Zoroark doing only 190 damage, a couple Shrine ticks can finish them off, or say a Reshiram Charizard with 270 health, just shy of a 2-hit KO with Grand Flame, just a couple Shrine ticks, and then Reshiram will be going down as well.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get multiple Shrine ticks going, especially with 2 copies. Finally, we have a suite of items to attach to our Pokemon. We have, like I mentioned before, 2 Escape Board. We have 2 Wishful Baton to keep energy in play with our Arcanine, means we can keep accelerating energy, and we've got 2 copies of Choice Band. This is the area where lots of other Arcanine lists kind of fall down, is that they have to kind of lower their counts of items because they have to use the Wishful Baton to keep stuff in play. Since we've got Jirachi, we can kind of be a little bit more creative, and since we've got 6 items to attach to our Pokemon, we actually play a copy of Adventure Bag as well to search for tools, to put them into our hand when we need them. Means that Jirachi can potentially search out a Rescue Stretcher, not a Rescue Stretcher, I keep saying that, a Escape Board and a Wishful Baton for the turn, which is pretty cool.
Adventure Bag's just a really strong card when you've got a weird tool line like this, where we've got 3 important tools that you need to be able to find on the specific turn you need them. And Wishful Baton, in my opinion, is especially useful with this deck, just because we are playing that Turtonator, and Wishful Baton is your main way of keeping that damage output for Turtonator high.
100% is. We actually talked about it a little bit. We've seen some lists playing things like buff padding as well, because Arcanine has 4 retreat costs, so buff padding would add an extra 50 HP to Arcanine's already high 140. It's potential for it to be in there, but at the moment we think that it's probably best to just keep the Wishful Baton and save the buff padding for later.
Makes sense to me.
Beautiful. Well, to round the list out, we have 11 Fire Energy. Jordan and I have talked about this off camera a little bit. We think we could probably go down to 10, but at the moment 11 seems pretty safe.
10 is as low as I think you could get away with, just because, as I was saying, cycling the same energy over and over again, so you don't need to have a super high count, but you don't want to be in a position where you've got all your energy on board and you run out of energy, just to have as attachments or for Heat Factory.
Yeah, so we'll take it into the ladder and see what we can do. Hopefully our opponent loads the game here and we actually get to play something. I hate it when
they're trying pretty hard.
They are working real hard. Here we go. We'll pick Tails. I didn't actually see the types we were up against here, but we'll wait and see. Anything could happen.
I didn't get too good a look either. I saw there were, I think, 4 different types that I could see. I think one of them might have been water, and that's all I really got a chance to look at.
Yeah, so we're not entirely sure, but we'll get a look here at the hand because of the mulligan, so let's find out. It looks like it is Zoroark, so this is going to be Zoroark, Dewgongi, Slowkingy stuff.
Yep, I'd say so. Zoroark Persian with a variety of water techs seems like the most likely opponent here. And what's good about Arcanine is that Dewgong is actually just shy of taking the knockout on an active Arcanine.
This is wild here. We could potentially welder onto the active, but I feel like maybe the Heat Factory is the safer play.
Well, they both draw 3 cards, so I kind of like using the welder here just to guarantee the 2 attachments.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, where do we put them, on the active or on the bench? I don't think we can actually get
active. They're not using the Lele drive. That's not happening.
Oh, look at this, and we get to use Fiery Flint to draw with Heat Factory as well. But what do we get rid of? Oh, so many choices.
Yeah, I feel like we probably want to do it this turn, even though I'm tempted to just hold it for next turn. Obviously, resetting Hole is a pretty common tech in Zoroark decks, so Turn 1 is probably the turn that they're least likely to have that luxury of searching an extra Pokemon. They're going to be needing to focus on getting their core Pokemon into play, so they might not get a chance to use resetting whole turn 1.
Alright, so I'm going to chuck the energy down on the benched Growlithe. I don't think we need to worry about it too much.
Only other thing is maybe Nest Ball for Jirachi, just in case they do decide to go all aggressive and go for a turn 1 energy drive on the Growlithe if they can find access to it.
I think that's
having the Jirachi down just a little safer.
Yeah, we'll grab him out. That way we can potentially Guzma something out if we get access to an Arcanine this turn, or even we can just attack with Combustion. It's not even that bad of an attack.
How much damage does Combustion do?
Well, it does 30, so I mean it's not terrible. But I mean it puts a Zoroark in range of a knockout with Arcanine's second attack, so it can't be sneezed at. But we do get to keep the Heat Factory in play, so that's good.
Yeah, assuming the Heat Factory stays, we can draw at least 6 more cards with Welder. And if they do choose to remove the Heat Factory, we could potentially go for like a Guzma Jirachi play as well. But we would need to find an escape board to make a play like that, I would say.
Yeah, I think we need an escape board to do anything with the Jirachi at the moment, although we could potentially get there if everything falls into place. Our opponent really taking a long time on this Ultra Ball here. Getting the Dedenne GX. That's free prizes for Arcanine. Nom 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 nom, I'm going to eat them up.
And it's certainly a good target for some Shrine damage. If we can at least keep Shrine down for a couple turns, then the Dedenne will be, even if just for one turn, it'll be in range of a Choice Banded Grand Flame.
Certainly will. Our opponent opting to go for the Ditto Prism there, and then Dedenne to get rid of 2 copies of Kukui, which is actually really, really big. Because
that's
now Zoroark is only going to be able to do 120 without Kukui. It might have trouble hitting into those Arcanine. And we're obviously playing against something with Silvally here, because we have a fighting memory down as well.
Yep, Zoroark, Silvally. It's pretty interesting to see both Persian, Silvally, and Slowking. Means they're probably not playing the Dugongs. I believe I saw a Slowpoke in the discard pile.
Yeah, well, we've put ourselves in a pretty solid position here. We can have an Arcanine in the active, an Arcanine on the bench. We've got 2 energy in the discard pile. We could welder onto the Arcanine in the active. We only really need to welder 1 energy onto it, and then we can start Grand Flaming.
Probably worth it just for the 3 cards. I would just welder for the 1 attachment.
Yep.
And then we'll have 2 Arcanines powered on the second turn of the game.
Yeah, it seems pretty good. I'm thinking maybe we even Ultra Ball 2 energy to get another Growlithe.
We can probably wait till next turn to do that. I don't think we're in a huge rush to make that play.
Okay, alright. Well, I'm just letting you know. I'm just thinking about it, alright? I'm just thinking that's an idea.
Certainly not a bad idea.
But this is the point now where our Arcanines should, in theory, be self-sustaining. So we don't really need to worry about anything here. We just kind of use Grand Flame every turn and make sure that we've got at least a couple of Arcanines. So we should be A-okay.
The fact that they have discarded like so many of the attacks for this matchup, they've lost both of their Kukuis, they've lost Slowpoke, they've even lost Water Memory, which is pretty funny.
Yep, that's another big deal. And they've evolved to Alolan Muck, so they're obviously hoping that Arcanine is doing enough. And they're just going to play Cataday here. I feel like that's just kind of consigning themselves to the L. I don't know if there's a way that they can come back.
Well, if we knock out this Meowth, they've basically got no outs to knock out Arcanine, assuming they don't play a third Kukui, which I'd be very surprised at. They have no Ditto on the bench and no other Pokemon they can evolve into to deal with an Arcanine. We even have the Guzma to take out that Muck later on if we find ourselves a little trapped of Jirachis, or maybe that Guzma will end up being the last 2 prizes for the Dedenne. We've got so many options.
Yeah, I feel like we might even be able to play the Shrine down now, although it might not be worth doing. I think maybe we just take the knockout with Grand Flame, accelerate to this new Growlithe on the bench, and then go from there.
Sounds good to me.
I don't think that we're in any rush, and we can just cycle these guys through. Our opponents decided to remove the Jirachi from us, but we are in absolutely no stress right now.
Yeah, we don't really have to do anything as long as we're holding on to the Guzma to potentially make a power play on on a crucial turn. I don't see any way this can go wrong for us.
No. And it just doesn't look like they're going to be able to threaten a knockout with anything anytime soon. Zoroark giving himself the DCE here, and those two Kukuis going back in, so obviously our opponent realising how important they are going to be.
It's a little unfortunate, even though we have such a huge hand size, we don't actually have a choice band right now. So I think we could either go for a Guzma and take out something on the bench, maybe that Meowth, just to make sure they can't ever get a Persian into play, or we just play the Cynthia, see if we can find ourselves an energy and a choice band. I honestly don't think we're in too much of a problem either play we make.
Yeah, I feel like Cynthia probably is a bit of a safer play right now. We don't need to use the Guzma. Remember, we only have 2 of them. I think
Maybe
Cynthia
it's
seems
worth
fine.
using Fiery Flip to bin a couple cards out, get the attachment,
I think
and then we find a choice band.
we might be like an Arcanine and maybe even a Fire Crystal. I don't see us using a Fire Crystal anytime soon.
Yep.
And we get rid of those, grab ourselves some energy. We can attach one and burn one. We might just burn it first. See what we get.
Maybe we'll do the choice
There's
band.
a choice
Hey,
band.
look at
We
First
are going
go.
to knock out our Arcanine here unless we use this switch. So I reckon what we might do is we might just switch and choice band and use Heat Tackle. What do you think? That seems fair.
that. Sounds perfect to me.
I'm not super stressed. We lose nothing and gain everything. Our
And
opponent
we have the Guzma in hand for game next turn if they don't play a Judge.
Yep. And with 2 cards in hand, our opponent is really going to struggle to keep themselves afloat here.
They do have access to Catwalk on this turn. If they can evolve that Persian, they could get Judge and Triple Colorless and knock out this Arcanine, remove our hand. We could maybe be in a bit of trouble, but they probably also need to remove the Heat Factory, or we can just find a Fire Energy or a Fire Crystal, or any out to fire will give us a decent hand.
Yeah, so our opponent going for the Ultra Ball here. It looks like they should get a Persian, but the question is, do they go Persian and then Catwalk for the energy to knock out and to remove the stadium? Or do they get the Let Loose and hope, or like what do they do? They probably
Well, they can't
go...
use Let Loose to the park, so I imagine that they
go
have
for
to
the Judge.
get Judge and Judge and Energy, right? But I think there's a Judge and Discard, and they didn't power pad it back in, so they probably need to be running a second copy of Judge. That's
So-
the only win con I think they have, knowing that we have good.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling pretty good. We might be in a position where we can like we should be able to win the game next turn. I don't think there's that much our opponent can do. And yet they're 2
And
cards
obviously
with
we had a very strong start. We went first in this matchup, but I would have thought the Zoroark would be a pretty tough matchup, but we've kind of decimated it in this game.
We have going for a Zoroark and an energy, so no stress at all.
The first prize card they take is the last turn of the game.
Yep. And so we will promote. We'll promote this Arcanine. We've already got the things that we need. We're not going to style on them by using the Jirachi. We will attach the energy, and we'll give them another prize. I think that's
Yeah, may as well.
That's fair. We'll give them another prize. Now, don't let
I
me
mean,
forget
we
to
could
play
knock it
down the
out
shrine.
Oh no, we can't, because there's no choice band, so we can't knock them out of Grand Play.
It's fine. We're fine. We'll just knock it out. We'll just knock it out. Oh no! We gave up a prize. That's okay. Here, I was sitting there being like, oh, it does 150. It does 190. That's broken. This attack is stupidly good.
Pretty good. This is why you've been a fan of this card.
Yeah,
all
I
this
know.
time, isn't it?
And every time I talk about it, everyone's just like, oh, it's not that great.
I think it's pretty good.
It seems fine to me. Let's see how we go. We'll play one more game here. Hopefully we can get another good meta deck like that one potentially is. Just
Man,
to
if
show us how
Arcanine
good it
beats
is.
Zoroark,
Yeah, man.
then what does it lose to?
Yeah, Arcanine's super good. I don't know why you guys haven't been listening to me.
I mean, it's pretty good against tag team Pokemon, just because how efficient the price trade is. And
Yeah,
then,
it's got a good Zapdos matchup as well.
yeah, I don't know what this deck should be scared of.
I think the thing that it's scared of is the same thing that like Blastoise is scared of. In that sometimes
Hands like that mulligan hand.
it just doesn't work sometimes. So
Well, that's why we've gone with the Jirachi build, isn't it?
yes, exactly, for more consistency. We might actually be playing against the same list again here. I didn't actually check to see who our opponent was last time, but we might be
I
going
don't
up
think
against the
it's
same
that.
thing.
I don't think it's the same opponent. But it very well could be the same deck.
Well, I mean, there was Acerola and DCE, so And look at that, we get a Jirachi in the active. Seems pretty good. We can play down a Growlithe as well.
A little bit of a poor start, but if we can find a Lily or even a Welder, and it's pretty strong.
Yep. And there's plenty of outs to those cards, and our opponent starts Tapu Lele, which is a bad start for them.
The biggest problem is the fact that we've opened with both of our Guzma and Kukui in opening hand, which are cards that we'd ideally like to save for later on in the game.
And we're going up against Zoroark again here, so let's see what variant we are looking at.
Well, it's time to really put Arcanine to the test and effectively 2-0 Zoroark, and I'll be very impressed.
Yeah, tell you what.
Getting rid of was that a Larvitar that they discarded?
There was a Larvitar in there, yep.
Very interesting. I wonder what kind of Zoroark build this could be.
Interesting little tech. Attaches and then puts down another Lele, so that's 2 more prizes for Arcanine to take.
We can hold on to these Guzmas, and we've effectively taken 4 prize cards already.
Yeah, so it depends what we get off the Stellar Wish and off the top deck, but our opponent's obviously going to have a pretty good setup here off of this Lily. It is very rare to see Zoroark brick off of a card, a hand to 8 size, so getting rid of the Alolan
just like in a real best of 3, our opponent is going first, even though it's not the same player.
It's not the same opponent.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see if going second makes a big difference in a Zoroark matchup, because we were fortunate enough to go first in the last game.
Yeah, getting the seal down here, obviously seeing Dugong as the path to victory. So we'll see what happens.
Is a little annoying for Arcanine. I mean, obviously it doesn't one-hit KO Arcanine, so it's not too bad. But the fact that we're not playing Mew means that they can maybe set up for some pretty.
I think we might have to be binning a Guzma here, man.
It's probably fine to bin 1.
It'll be okay. We'll just kill the stuff that's in the active. It's fine.
Exactly.
Grabbing ourselves some Energons. We will also Nestball, getting ourselves another Growly Boy. And then Stellar Wish. Well, I've got a Lily. That can get us a few cards. It's not the worst thing in the world. We can put down the Shrine, play an energy, and get 4 cards. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because even if the Shrine gets replaced, we at least have some stuff going on. Wow. Oh boy. I feel like we are in for another Jirachi here off of this Nest Ball, because if this Jirachi gets knocked out, we are in a big trouble.
Correct, and they have no access to Muck next turn with their current board, meaning that the Jirachi is pretty safe.
Yeah, so we might just leave it at that. No need to escape rope now. We'll just wait until next turn, where potentially we might get ourselves... If we can get ourselves a Welder, then we're in with a shot, but we still need an Arcanine. And this is why...
That would be ideal.
This is why, Jordan, the deck sometimes, and I say sometimes, doesn't work.
Well, maybe it was a little bit of a order of operations problem last time. Maybe it would have been better if we didn't play the Fiery Flint before Stellar Wishing. Obviously, there's a chance we would have missed the Lily, but if we did hit the Lily still, we would have been able to draw more cards.
This is true, And our opponent is going to get a knockout on this Growlithe this turn. So that means we've got potential for a couple of Jirachi with an Escape Rope and a Guzma to potentially get ourselves into something, but I don't think that's what we really want to do.
Losing the Angie attachment on the Growlithe as well isn't really that big an issue. In fact, it's almost irrelevant. It does mean we won't be able to go for a big 190 plus Choice Band knockout this turn. Actually, we wouldn't even need Choice Band due to the Shrine. But like, we won't be able to take a knockout on the Zoroark. But that's not so important if we can just get an attacking Arcanine into the active, which they can probably not. Well, they'll probably have to 2-hit KO it.
Yeah, they might not be able to deal with it. So we've got the Jirachi, we'll play it into the active. We've got a couple of cards to deal with, and our Shrine is starting to put in some work as well. So
hopefully we can find a Welder here.
We've got a Rescue Stretcher, so that's not amazing. Let's Stellar Wish. And no, we are not going to be doing anything of note. I think we're probably just grabbing this Cynthia.
Cynthia or Wishful Baton.
We've still got the Escape Rope, I guess.
Just depends on if you want to go all in on the Escape Rope or not. Cynthia is a good backup plan, but it might not be good enough.
I think we grab the Cynthia. We could be. We could be in some strife. Do you reckon we just Escape Rope into the other Jirachi?
Yeah, may as well go for the Welder, and then Cynthia if all else fails. we do have, if we do get the welder, then we'll be able to bench a Growlithe, power up an Arcanine, and hopefully that will give us 2 threats our opponent can't deal with both.
Yeah, let's see how we go. No welder. Bad luck.
No welder again.
So we can nest ball and get ourselves 3 Growliths into play, and then Cynthia, and I think that's probably going to be our best bet.
We will be going down a couple prize cards, but thanks to the Shrine sticking in play for longer than I was expecting, the Zoroarks are probably going to be pretty easy to knock out due to having only 190 HP left now. We can probably just win a prize trade even after going behind.
So we'll play this Cynthia and see what happens. It's not ideal, but you know, we've got a chance, and we've got a welder for next turn. I'm also considering, do we put on the Wishful Baton on that Growlithe just in case they go for that Guzma play again?
I would hold it just in case we're forced to discard a whole bunch of cards. We might need to use Fiery Flint and Ultra Ball next turn.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. And that Shrine is really putting in work. Lots of GXs.
It's also kind of interesting that the fact that they put the Lele active means if they aren't able to find Guzma, we could potentially have bought ourselves a turn here.
That is true.
Or it means that they're already holding Guzma and they were just...
And they're foxing with us, yeah. I think it's probably the latter, although depending on what type of list they're playing, they may have only 1 or 2 Guzma left. And choosing to go just for the knockout on the Jirachi here means that we can get a knockout this turn on this Zoroark.
Yeah, we've actually got everything in hand to do that. And we can put the Wishful Baton on instead of you needing Choice Band.
Yep.
Which will put us in a pretty good spot overall. All of a sudden, the game's going to be tied.
Certainly will. And we've got ourselves an energy in hand. So we can Fiery Flint and get rid of an Ultra Ball and a Turtonator.
It looks like we're probably going to have to be discarding most of the cards in our hand.
We will.
We'll see what we get off Welder, though.
Yeah, the welder is still important, because depending on what we get, we might not need to play the Ultra Ball at all. We do, but we've got another welder for next turn. Now here's a question, can we Choice Band 150? Well, not quite there. I think we do need to make this play. What do we
I'd
get
say
rid
at
of
this
here?
point, well, we need to attach the energy and the Wishful Baton to the active.
Yes, so we need one of those, so let's just do that now.
Yep.
Just so we don't
and
forget.
Our options are, we probably discard an energy and either the Choice Band or one of the supporters.
Yeah, I feel like the Choice Band isn't going to be as critical for us considering we've got the Shrine down, so...
I agree.
I'm not super worried. I'm also kind of thinking maybe we get rid of the Lily because... But we do need to get into we need to get into the thing, it's fine.
You could just hold on to Welder Double Energy as another option, and
true.
just get rid of Lily Choice Band. But
right, let's do this.
Holding Lily seems good because if they can't get rid of the Wishful Baton, we probably won't need the Welder.
So we'll take a couple of prizes, and we've got ourselves another Ultra Ball and an Energy, so we are set for another Arcanine next turn.
The Heat Tackle did put us in range of being knocked out pretty easily by a Zoroark or potentially even a Dugong, but what's good is if they can't get rid of the Field Blower, then we're in a really good spot. And if they can get rid of the Field Blower, then we've got Welder Double Energy and Ultra Ball, so if they just knock us out with a Dugong here, we're going to be able to just Grand Flame for knockout.
We certainly will. It's going to put us on odd prizes, which is disappointing, but that's okay, because they're going to be on odd prizes as well, and we've got one Guzma left.
And after we knock out the Dugong with a fresh Arcanine, ideally it's going to be hard for them to KO an Arcanine at full HP.
Ideally.
Of course, they do have that Meowth on the bench, so who knows what damage output they could eventually pull off.
They could be doing literally anything here, but that's okay. You'd have to presume that your opponent promoting Seal means that they have the cards, but maybe they don't have it. Maybe they were expecting to get something and it didn't work out for them because it's a lot of thinking going on over there now. And yeah, they just scoop it up.
They did only have one Zoroark in play after we knocked it out, so if they missed the version, then they would have had very little access to cards that turn.
Yeah, so there you go, Jordan. Just 2-word Zoroark. How do you feel?
Pretty impressive, and while that game was very close, it certainly seemed like it was going to go either way, even if they started drawing perfectly.
Yep, and I'm going to do something that we never do on the channel, and I'm going to open a Victory Plasma Storm pack. I've clicked on the wrong button. Where am I? There we go. Oh, good grief. I'm so excited. I just want to open Plasma Storm.
Pretty good set. And it's not plasma free, so you can't pull a gold ultra.
That's okay. Let's see what we get. So far, nothing. Oh, yeah, look at that, Victini EX. That's cool.
That card saw a little bit of play back in the day.
Yeah, that's interesting enough. So there you go, Jordan. What do you think of this? Would you play it in a tournament?
I actually think I would. I really liked the way this list has been running, and it honestly seems like it beats most of the top decks.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't beat them, it's at least got a solid matchup. It's kind of similar to Blastoise in the sense that it needs a little bit of luck to get yourself set up, but when you're set up, it is a powerful option. Thanks, Jordan, for coming along.
Not a problem.
And thanks everyone for watching. If you like the content, then please subscribe by hitting the Sableye in the middle of the screen. On the left-hand side is a video that YouTube thinks that you'll like, and on the right, we've got our Unbroken Bonds playlist. Thanks very much, and we'll see you all next time for more from the SAbleyes. Bye.